When a government uses sanctions to keep rogue nations in check, or law enforcement agencies bust criminal cartels, they can usually thank a bank. But banks are growing more wary of their role in helping law enforcers freeze suspicious channels in the global flow of money. And their caution could create fertile soil for even more crime and more economic instability.
In this new global era, money goes around the world in an instant, and everybody needs access to it. And that includes the bad operators, the terrorists, and the rogue regimes, and the drug traffickers. And governments have realized this, and they viewed the banking system as a choke point where they can cut off money. After September 11th, that drove that home. And to police all these transactions requires a lot of manpower, a lot of computing power. There are $1 trillion worth of payments every day that go around the globe that they have to be responsible for.
That burden of responsibility can translate into billions of dollars in fines for doing business with clients that are engaged in illicit activity. HSBC Bank paid $1.9 billion to the US government in 2012 to settle a lawsuit over failures to stop Mexican drug cartels from laundering money. The following year, Credit Suisse paid out a $2.6 billion settlement over a tax evasion scheme involving US citizens. Regulators in 2014 also fined BNP Paribas $9 billion for breaching US sanctions on Iran, Sudan, and Cuba.
I just heard of a case where a major bank was putting a hold on every single transaction with Russia until they analyzed it, so that slows down activity, costs some money. So de-risking is a very hot topic.
De-risking is when banks resort to the wholesale dumping of entire customer bases to neutralize any chance of breaking anti-money laundering or terrorist financing rules.
One of the big areas of concern is money transmitters. Person sending money to a family back home, for example. Banks are reluctant to do business with them now because of the money laundering risks.
But when citizens can't get access to legitimate banks, their cash often moves into underground illicit channels.
And we don't want to drive it underground. The governments and banks are talking to each other about ways to overcome some of the qualms about risky lines of business. One of the big things I hear a lot from the industry and government both is that there needs to be more information sharing. So they're talking about ways to pool resources.
Governments want banks to be their partner because they know how effective even a single bank employee can be in global crime fighting.
A sharp-eyed bank employee can make a difference. Something I learned about recently where a bank employee was able, through tracing of internet addresses, to identify a suspect in the Mumbai terrorist bombing and ultimately lead to a conviction of an American in that case. And so that was just careful, diligent work by a bank employee.
Visit Thomson Reuters' Knowledge Effect blog for more stories like this at blog.thomsonreuters.com.